Ladies and gentlemen, the IS-7. It has been a heck of a grind, but I'll talk more about that later. For now, let's talk about the IS-7. And this event has been, before I get into the vehicle itself, one of the most comfortable grinds that I've experienced in the game so far, and it's really reignited my love for the game, so complete success as an event. Now, let's talk about IS-7. Anyone who's used to playing the IS-4M and the IS-6 will be immediately familiar with the dynamic of IS-7. Basically, this is an IS-4M with a much faster reload rate, a slightly more powerful gun, a little bit larger. Hey Chippies, you want some blueberries? A little bit larger weak spots. And what else? Basically the mobility of an IS-6 that's been dragged out a bit. It doesn't corner quite so well as the IS-6, but your forward and reverse are very familiar, and with the improved armor layout over the IS-6 against things that do not have upwards of 350 millimeters of pen, such as the Hida vest that you'll find quite often on the NATO tanks at this battle rating, you'll be okay. In an up tier against 9.0 vehicles, this tank functions decently as a medium because you do have a reasonable amount of mobility in order to get to those spots you need to, though you won't be the first one there, so I wouldn't recommend trying to work that dank flank with this tank. And with your reduced cornering ability when compared with medium tanks that you'll be facing, I wouldn't recommend trying to outmaneuver the enemy. This is a thinking man's tank or a brawler's tank, depending upon the battle rating you're in. Once you've gotten up to this tier, you should have a pretty good handle on how to work with this vehicle. It's a beast from the east for sure. Now, is it fun to play? In my experience, absolutely. And that's coming from someone who's not particularly fond of higher tier content. About 7.0 is where I like to draw the line. After that, I am just not quite having as much fun because honestly, I've been playing this game for a long time, but I just don't have the skill to perform really well in top tier. So I kind of go there as a learning experience and then I quickly retreat. So that's the general idea of the IS-7. If you're looking at how to kill this tank or the weak spot you need to protect, from the side, in between the tracks is the place to penetrate this vehicle, but the best kill shot on this one from the front is around the cupolas. There's sort of a brow on this tank where the armor is thin, and also a few places where it's flat, and if you go into armor view you can see those from the front. I'll probably do a live stream on how to kill IS-7 just so everyone can know as a separate video. And what else? Let's talk about the event. This event was different than any other event that War Thunder has done. It's had some similarities to some things they've run as a test, and this is the fulfillment of that testing, and I honestly think that it is an absolute success from my perspective, and I'll tell you why. Now, I was leery about the market because there's lots of ways it can be abused, and so far it's obvious that Gaijin is pushing for people to be involved with it, but it's not in such a way that I think is overhyping or destroying what they've built in the past, giving people an opportunity to unlock rare premium vehicles by grinding for them in the game. And I'll explain what I mean. I've participated in most of the events, like Operation Summer and the winter one that they do, and I usually unlock 2 or 3 vehicles. I never have the time to go for all 4. I have a marriage to maintain, and now I have a tank baby to take care of. So with this event, I really did have to grind hard, and it was a strain on my relationship with my wife. And I didn't do the dishes for like a week, so that's fun. I'm still dealing with that. But basically, it can be done, right? It's not a whole lot more of a time investment, perhaps a bit more than other Operation Summers. But the advantage with this event was that you always knew you were making progress. So you would get a few parts, you would get a rare part every now and then, and you'd be able to keep on making consistent progress. So you have a pretty good idea about how long it's actually going to take you for this event. And it wasn't like you were waiting, 2 or 3 hours to pick up victories or supporting fires or something like that. So all in all, I'd consider this, well, I'll tell you from my own experience, this is the first event ever that I've participated in where I never felt like I was grinding away my soul. I never even got frustrated because it's so easy to get 50% battle activity that I was just having a blast, just total BSing with the people on the TEC Hub Discord, and you've seen that in a few of my videos. And apologies if you're not used to hearing some certain words or things, but these guys are part of the general public, and you're just gonna have to get used to hearing those things and dealing with that at some point in your life. So there you go. Hopefully I didn't get too salty during those conversations, but what else? Well, I guess now it's time for me to do something else with my life. I've played so much of War Thunder Ground Forces lately, almost entirely in arcade, just because it's easier to grind there. And by the way, apologies in this replay for the bug there of the flashing ammo. It seems to be an aspect of the IS-7 in replays with its autoloader system, that while the autoloader is reloading the gun, it flashes between the two ammo types, and I think I know why, but that doesn't matter. Anyway, we got the tank baby here soliciting another blueberry from me. Here you go. I love you. You are gorgeous. You are so precious. Yeah, she's waving to you guys. Hi. Hi. Oh, well, some of you, I'm sure, have decided not to participate in this event. I was leery. I figured I actually sort of budgeted about 50 bucks, and I said, what I'll do is I'll grind for a little bit, and then once I get tired of the grind, I'll just buy my way through it. And what I did is I actually went out and I made some extra money mowing lawns on the side, as I do, and I didn't need to spend any of that. In fact, right now I'm looking at about 50 Gaijin coins that I've made by selling things on the market since this event started. I had a furry tiger, I decided to sell that, and I also traded my T-34 for the AEC Mark II, but unfortunately, and here's something that you want to keep in mind with the market, there's a good reason for it, but I didn't take this into account when I traded for the AEC Mark II, is that you have to wait 24 hours after receiving a vehicle coupon before you can trade it. So when I traded for the AEC using the mechanic of the event, as you do, it was going for about 34 Gaijin coins, but after 24 hours it was down to like 15. So I didn't get the best deal out of it, but for an extra thing that I didn't really need or want, I could grind away the first vehicle, sell it on the market, and then I can spend that on practically anything within the game. So that's just fantastic. Now I'm looking at 50 bucks that I didn't even, need to spend, and now I have on Gaijin coins. And another 50 bucks that I, went out and worked in the real world and budgeted for this event and didn't need to spend at all because the grind, it just wasn't too bad. And I know it takes time, but I have the time. And I understand that a lot of people don't have the time, and that's sort of the case that's sort of been the case for me lately, and that's why I go out and work some extra in the fields, as it were, mowing people's lawns for tank money. It'll have to be ammo money. I need to make a gun video soon. But if you're in that situation where you don't have the time and you don't have the money, man, I'm sorry. But, this is one of those games where it's either time or money to get what you want. And there have been a few little things that you can get without spending a whole lot of time or money, and that's very generous of Gaijin to give those things. And for the rest, you know, there's regular vehicles that are fun in this game, but there's got to be some constraint to these rare vehicles, otherwise they wouldn't be rare. And it looks like from this event that quite a number of people have received IS-7 by the time that I got mine. I ground pretty hard from the start, and it took me up until day before yesterday to get that done. So it is something of a grind, and I hope you don't lose your mind. And if you decided to take part in this event, go ahead and share with me in the comments how it's been for you. Let's start a little conversation. And on the other hand, I'd just like to congratulate Gaijin for how well they pulled off this event. And by the way, what a match in the IS-7, right? This is an 8.0 vehicle. It can face 9.0s, but with its solid gun and its decent mobility and its reasonable armor, for once you can actually bounce a few shots, especially if they're not Heat FS or APDS. Yeah, you can actually do well in this thing. Now, to be fair, I probably have about a 2 KD in this vehicle. I'm not quite sure. I commonly get matches in arcade because I've been playing this exclusively in arcade, just so you know, just because I want to get into matches. I am still grinding out parts and then selling those on the market as quickly as I can, just because it's nice to make a few bucks on the side. And you know, this thing's pretty good in arcade. How is it in RB? You let me know. Anyway guys, catch you in the next one. Bye bye.